computer. Um, and answer obviously any questions. Regarding Keystone habits, I think everybody's relationship is with food is different, right? But over my years, it's been nearly 20 years I've been coaching in person. It's literally 19 and a bit. Um, I've discovered there's like probably around 7 habits that can assist almost everybody who is working on improving that relationship. And so I like to think of them as keystone habits as a sort of a food relationship checkup. And I think every one of these has been sort of clinically proven to help people improve their relationship with food and sort of get down to that healthy weight they want to be and sort of stay there. Now, you don't have to do all of them. You can choose to use any of them. You can choose to use all of them. It's just to sort of give you a bit of an idea of what I think our most successful clients are doing. They're not doing all of these. They might be doing a couple of them. And I think we start with number one. I've talked about fasting before. For a lot of people, if it's unscheduled fasting, it's unintentional, let's say, just missing meals and things like that, it can potentially be a crux. So for those people, probably befriend breakfast, right? It's hotly debated. Um, if you're hanging out with loads of people who just purely love intermittent fasting, you're going to get a lot of breakfast skippers. You're going to get, oh, and if you're not hungry in the morning, don't force the breakfast down. But if you are hungry in the morning, then it might be a useful strategy. Now, I think me and Viola touched on this with Beverly as well. Like, she's not hungry in the morning. So why are we going to encourage her to consume those calories when her body's not telling her, hey, I need some food. Some people are hungry in the morning. I'm not overtly hungry in the morning. After a couple of hours, I'm absolutely ravenous. So this is when I sort of will start my eating window, if you will. So if you are hungry in the morning, breakfast could be a useful strategy. And I'll give you a few examples. With breakfast, firstly, you've got carb control, right? Carbohydrates aren't bad. The portion control is more influential than the actual carbohydrate itself, right? There was a recent study that said, obviously, we are in the morning, we're most insulin sensitive, right? That means basically we're able to deal with carbohydrates a lot easier compared to the evening, right? Where we normally consume all our carbs, which is all the snacks and stuff. So let's say you've slept for 8 hours, you've slept, um, let's say 10 till 10 p.m., you fell asleep at 10 p.m., you woke up at 6 a.m., you've had 8 hours of no food coming in. So the body is ready for some carbohydrates, right? So you're going to process them better in the morning. You could eat the same meal at 7 a.m. and the same meal at 7 p.m. Let's say you've had 2 slices of toast. Your blood sugar level is likely to rise higher in the evening than in the morning because you are less insulin sensitive, right? There are many reasons for this, including the fact that most people are more active in the morning. More people are more sedentary in the evening. It generally seems like we have better insulin responses in the morning than the evening. That is when insulin becomes less sensitive and blood sugar goes higher. Now, this is relevant for pre-diabetics, and this is definitely relevant for diabetics. But insulin basically is the hormone that helps blood sugar get into the cell where it can be used rather than hanging out in the bloodstream, which is dangerous for, right? Now, that isn't a justification to just go out and get all the almond croissants in the world, like, oh, because Dean said I'm going to be able to manage these a lot better. It's just a good reason to potentially eat breakfast if your body is hungry or you're hungry, you're typically expecting some fuel after a night of not getting anything, right? So think about it. Like, if you want to wait till noon to break your fast, your body may be running out of maybe running out of usable energy and leaves you fatigued, brain foggy, or whatever. Okay, so then think, all right, maybe instead of waiting until 12, maybe 10 a.m. when that time rolls around, that's when I'm going to go for a few carbohydrates with a bit of protein, because it has to be something that's specific to you. And this is why these cookie cutter programs don't work of like, oh, everybody have this, this, and this. Because Some of you might have blood sugar issues. Some of you might have low blood sugar at night. People don't process food the same way. If you're not hungry in the morning, you might not have a natural drive to eat in the morning, right? That could be because your circadian rhythm and the ebb and the flow of hunger and satiety, which is ghrelin and leptin, they're the hormones that make you feel hungry, ghrelin, and the hormones that suppress hunger, which is leptin. If that's you, skipping breakfast doesn't, if it, and skipping breakfast really doesn't feel like the right thing for your body, listen to the body. And conversely, if it does, if you don't feel hungry, breakfast, it might not be for you. It might be a brunch that's for you. It might be lunch for you. Number two, I think, is better diet quality. There, studies consistently show that people who eat breakfast tend to eat more nutrition throughout the day to get more nutrition than those who skip breakfast. There was a 2021 study, 30,000 adults, and they examined, a lot of the stuff. And they basically looked at adults living in the US who eat breakfast, have a greater micronutrient intake, folate, calcium, iron, phosphorus, vitamins A, B1, B2, B, C, D, and D, uh, B, C, and D. They had higher intakes of that. And it also showed, on the other hand, people who skipped breakfast consumed significantly more calories, carbohydrates, fat specifically, added sugars throughout the rest of the day. They're much less likely by that standard to meet their recommended intake of all of those calcium, folate, iron, and stuff. And what that means is breakfast does create a unique opportunity to consume important micronutrients that may be less present in the preceding meals. This is probably when I get my most nutritious, maybe the dinner. But I'll have like Greek yogurt, I'll have chia seeds or flax seeds, I'll have blueberries, I'll have some sort of muesli. So I'm getting loads of different fiber, loads of different micronutrients in that meal. I've got my whey protein, got my calcium from the yogurt. Um, but that is not, it is my breakfast, but it's not really my breakfast because I'll have it like I haven't had it yet. It's 11 o'clock here right now. After this live, I'll probably eat 12 o'clock. So I don't also have breakfast. So if that is, please don't take everything I'm saying here as gospel and completely change the way you're eating now because whatever he's doing is working for all of you on this call. You're all losing weight. So please don't just go, fuck it, I'm just going to do everything he said now. I just want to, there's a few that you might take. There might be one that you might take, or you might be like, what I'm doing right now is working for me. It's just information for you to go, I'm going to apply this or ask for us, should I apply this? Number three is better metabolism, blood sugar, and hunger control. Eating breakfast um, increases metabolic rate, not to drastic amounts. Honestly, not having that and then having something at lunch is not going to be drastic, but it will just help if you've got three meals across the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And let's say just for numbers' sake, they all count as 2,000 calories across the day. If you had lunch and dinner only, and they were both 1,000, 1,000, or you split those 2,000 across three meals, it's just going to have better blood sugar control, better energy regulation by having those three meals compared to the two. I like the two personally because I love the way that we structure our food. We've got to find something that works for you. But eating breakfast does slightly increase. It leads to a bit more energy, a bit more physical activity throughout the day, and it's not a conscious thing. People who eat breakfast tend to be generally leaner. They've got more stable blood sugar, and that includes during the evening. Compared to people who fast in the morning, there is a lot of information. But the breakfast has to be high in protein. Carbohydrates we want, we process them well, but we need it at high protein. It will lower the ghrelin levels throughout the day. Ghrelin is that hunger hormone. The way I remembered ghrelin is the growl in the stomach, like a gremlin. And it's a potential good thing to eat breakfast rather than a huge dinner. It's going to increase something that we call diet thermogenesis. That is basically the additional amount of energy your body burns after eating. Now, if you do have a big meal at evening, Not a problem. Just give you a quick tip. One of the best things you can do to regulate your blood sugar, if you're concerned about it, is and this helps with energy partitioning, which basically means getting the energy to where it needs to get to, is go for a walk. Go for a 20-minute walk after breakfast, and it will help sort of shuttle that into the places it needs, right? So habit number two is probably eat regularly. How many meals should I eat in a day, Dean? Loads of questions, loads of opinions, loads of articles, loads of studies. Generally, meal timing and the composition of meals. So, they are important. So, like the difference between 2 or 3 meals a day, eating breakfast, having dinner on the earlier side, plenty of protein, yada yada. Didn't eat, differences between eating 12 in a 12-hour window or a 16-hour window. This is very it's got to be based on what you can handle in your day to day. But, you know, if you do eat breakfast, now we don't know if this is the reason for it, if there is merit behind it, but people potentially tend to have lower cholesterol, lower inflammation, better insulin sensitivity. Now, I wonder why that is. It probably is because there is you're insulin sensitive more in the morning. I am one of those people that loves a really big dinner. Is it doing me a disservice by not having a larger breakfast? Maybe, but it's about choosing my battles, right? I love a big breakfast as well, but if I'm trying to lose weight, I can't have a big breakfast and a big dinner and then a medium lunch. Like, I just can't do it. I just don't have I can't have the amount of food. But generally, a lighter meal, you have reduced insulin sensitivity in the evening. So you're going to go to bed in a couple of hours. It will help your circadian rhythm, improve your sleep a bit if you have a bit of a lighter dinner. I'm not saying just go with a salad, but just go with a lighter meal than potentially the other two or the other one. Um, I think keystone number three would be control your portions. I think this is very clear, but this is what most successful clients do, especially with the deliciousnesses of the life, chocolate and stuff like that. Executing on portion control is a great skill. It can help you regulate your food intake without counting and measuring everything like most of you do. It is a time saver. That portion control is even around. It'll help you avoid overdoing it without putting a lot of thought into, every single thing that you've got to weigh. Portions aren't, though, something that there's something that people don't necessarily pay attention to. They tend to automatically eat what's in front of them. And that leads to overeating, and people don't pay attention to the subtle signs of hunger and fullness, myself included. I will, if I'm eating alone, which will be today because Viola's out, um, I'm going to be watching something on my phone. I know it's not good for me. I know what I'm about to do. It's not good for me, but I should I should be present when I'm eating that. And I'm like, oh, this is so delicious. This is the most delicious thing ever. But I'm also watching something on my phone, watching something on TV. So I need to make sure that when I portion it up, some people even are listening to something while they're portioning the plate up. That's even worse, you know. But if I portion something up, I should really take the moment because I'll register sort of signs of hunger. I'll report difference in fullness compared to on my phone. There's a big study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition with this. When adults and children were both given large portions, they didn't report any difference in fullness. So one solution here is serve yourself smaller portions, smaller plates, really, very good because they can actually trick the mind. There's a study doing that um, that's showing that people ate less when they reduced their plate size. I think it was like 33% less calories, if I remember correctly. So if you've got a large portion on your plate, hello, some of these giant restaurant servings or these buffets, it's easy to eat all of it without noticing, even though it's more than you wanted. And I think portion control is very, very important. And if you're like most of us, not massively hot on the idea of counting and weighing and measuring your food for the rest of your life, there's a few psychology tricks. I've just given you one on the plate, you know, a smaller plate. Um, I would probably even use a side plate. The dinner plate's quite large anyway. a side plate, salad plate, whatever. It's really good size for smaller meals, especially if they're calorically dense. If you're going out for a meal, or if you're going out and there's a social event on, grab a side plate. Uh, and what I would do first, this is my trick. The plate creates an optical illusion. It's called the Del Buff illusion, right? The white space around an object, in this case, around your food, makes the object look smaller than if there was no border around it. So that translates to a full to the brim, you know, side plate, a lot of food compared to how that same amount of food looks when it's like just a little morsel on your big dinner plate. So use that small plate, and what I would do is load it up on all the nutrient dense stuff, the protein, the salads, the all the goodies. And then the second, and make sure you finish that. You don't go up for a seconds until you finish that. And that seconds can be the delicious foods. Yeah, that's trick number one when you're out and about. Because I think there's loads of studies comparing two food groups. People eating the same amount of food. One group ate from a small plate, the other ate from a regular dinner plate. The people eating from a small plate reported feeling fuller, more satisfied after the meal. Like this was a little test, a little questionnaire that did, than the people who ate on the larger plate. They're exactly the same foods, exactly the same sort of weights of the individuals. Now, this is not necessarily a rule that works for everybody, but it could work for you. We've had a lot of success with it in the past on people using these little tricks. You know, it's really, really important. Um, I want you to think about with this stuff as well, nu calorically dense foods. Calorically dense foods have a lot of calories for their weight. Imagine it on the plate, right? Imagine a little brownie, a little square. Imagine the caloric density of that. Let's say it's 250, 300 calories, depending on how it's made. Could be even higher. Could be 400 if there's nuts present in the brownie. Now compare what you can get on that plate in terms of salad, vegetables, and protein for that 400 calories. You wouldn't be able to fit enough on the plate, right? So the nutritional density and the volume that takes on that plate and therefore in your stomach is going to feel a lot more satiating, right? So think about this whenever you're preparing, well, every meal actually. Think about these things. Um, obviously, I think logging the food is one of the best things you can do. So make sure you're keeping a food diary. I think keystone habit number four is to unprocess your diet as well. We have processed foods in abundance. They contain a lot of highly refined ingredients. You know, they're engineered to be delicious. They've hijacked us. The marketers, the food engineers have got us. They've got us by, you know, the the nether regions. They've caught us. It's hard to resist. You know, some of them are fine some of the time. They're fun foods, right? They're a lot less nutritious. They're less filling, and the way they're formulated they actually make you feel hungry after them. That's like an almond croissant for me. I absolutely love it, but I'm like starving after an hour. Um, and then by contrast, when you eat whole, unprocessed, bigger portions for the same number of calories, fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, whole grains, you know, quality protein, plant proteins, animal proteins, they're higher in micronutrients, higher in fiber. You get your nutritious bang for your buck. That having that 80% of the time, 90% even, it has to be the goal. Now, so if you look at your week, and let's say just for numbers sake, you've got 3 meals a day, you know, 3 meals a day across 7 days. And by my maths, and my maths is pretty good, it's 21 meals. So 21 meals, if 80 to 90% of that is single ingredient, sort of unprocessed whole foods, you're on the right track. If you're sort of like 70% whole foods, 30%, we've got some work to do, right? We've got some work to do to unprocess your diet. Like somebody asked a question before on Instagram to us. What do you think? What do I do when there's a food that I can't resist? What makes you want to eat more and makes you have a very hard time moderating it. And I'll give you a few examples of what I would do. And number one is substitute. Whole food swap may not feel as satisfying as your junk food darling. I think, for example, a baked potato isn't the same as a packet of chips, potato, Walker's crisps, but it's a lot more nutritious and filling. It's likely to make you feel much better after you eat it, and it can help reset those taste buds, right? And I've actually found I've not had any sugar for the past 2 months. I've 2 months. That's a complete lie. 2 weeks, 2 months. I'd be pulling my own hair out. But 2 weeks, um, and I've reset the taste buds. I appreciate the taste of food, everything. Like I had some quinoa and some tomatoes and cucumber and fish yesterday, and I was like shocked at how rich the cucumber and the quinoa and the tomato taste. I was like, whoa, it's so flavorful. But when obviously you consume sugar frequently, sometimes to excess, we modify the taste buds, right? So we don't appreciate the quality of the food because we're used to that sugar, we're used to that amount of sweetness. The option two is moderate. Can you eat a little bit of the food, even if it's, you know, less often? So let's say you just devour a chocolate bar, like a whole block every time you you see it, and that's happening 3 times a week. If you do that once a week, you've already made improvements, right? You've already made improvements. There's, you if you can reduce it, of course, if you can reduce it to half a block and start there, can you just have half a block on a weekend, on a Saturday? If the food is too tempting for you, consider this: complete avoidance. There is a temporary measure that I like to use to help loosen the grip of an addictive food. Like, let's say you're just crazy on donuts, right? You can just be on a break for a while. Doesn't mean you can never have it again. Might be a good time to flirt with other sweet choices, right? Just consider those things. Just got to let Sharon back in. Um, yeah, Keystone number five has to be sort of lose the labels. Now imagine a chocolate chip cookie, right? Words that come to mind, what do you think of? Delicious. I feel my mouth now just salivating. You think probably sinful. You might think, oh, what? And it's me indulging, or it's me being bad, or evil to myself, or heavenly, maybe the taste. Fattening. These are all labels. People like to classify. We humans like to classify things and categorize things. It helps us understand the world around us. But when we start putting value judgments on foods, anything like desserts are bad, vegetables are good, sugar is evil, whole food is sent from the heavens, right? We distort our perception of what food really is. If you think food is bad or off limits, but you also want it, it's going to become a trigger. Not just to eat it, but also to eat it without discretion. You're going to be, if you give in to the sin, it's going to cause guilt and shame, and it's not productive. I can imagine you just like if you're on a diet, you tell someone you're on a diet and they're in the presence of it, but you really want the chocolate bar. You're going into your room or into a cupboard and just eating the chocolate bar, right? That's not productive. That is like the labeling of foods as good as well is also not a good thing. You'll never hear me say, "Yeah, this is really good foods for us." If you eat something that's healthy, if you eat something because it is healthy, you may begin to eat things you don't want, and that's going to disrupt your natural hunger. That's going to disrupt food preference cues. It's going to distort your relationship with food. There's nothing wrong with eating healthy food because you know it's good for you, even if you don't particularly love it. I get that. But forcing yourself to just consume broccoli, even though you hate it, while while you don't like to, I understand you're not denying yourself pleasurable food because that food isn't good. That's going to start to distance yourself more from your natural instincts. So let's start to talk about foods as nutritious and maybe less nutrient dense. A cookie isn't evil. It isn't fattening. Broccoli isn't the most virtuous food out there. But if you really you can eat anything you want, right? Based on your food decisions about food and caloric and nutrient density, if you factor in your individual food preference, let's say you like sweet potatoes and better than baked potatoes, It's great fuel to eat, but it's also just fine to funny as well. It's about finding that sort of equilibrium. Rather than good and evil, should and shouldn't, can and can't, you'll have much easier time achieving balance and eventually freedom. So put the little bits of food that you love in there, little bits of chocolate. I certainly will. Like I'm trying to lose weight for the next 8 weeks. I'm 2 weeks into it. I've had no sugar. But I know this weekend or this week coming, when I feel like something, I will have something. I just wanted to pull myself away from sugar because when we were on our honeymoon, I was Sugar Steven. I was all over the shop with the sugar. Um, I think that habit number 6 is to ditch the drinks. Sweetened drinks go down easy. They contain a lot of calories for very little nutritional payoff. Soft drinks, fruit drinks, sports drinks, energy drinks, which I love. I haven't had those either. They make up a lot of nearly 40% of the added sugar in people's diets. How bonkers is that? Now they contain some chemicals. I'm not too worried about them, but it's still I just still don't want loads of it. It's like monopotassium phosphate, peroxidine hydrochloride. I don't want those. I don't mind them. They're fine for us. But if I'm having it every day, twice a day, they don't have the stuff I need, right, to perform optimally. Protein, fiber, healthy fats. Now, one can of that can be 150 calories. I don't know. You get nothing. You get a sugar buzz. Yeah, you might get a buzz from the caffeine ones. You get a sugar and the caffeine buzz. But there is a large body of research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that if you do consume sugar sweetened beverages, which I hope you don't, weight gain is associated with it, metabolic problems. So I'm not I'm not completely against artificial sweetened beverages like Coke Zero. They don't contain any calories, but there is, they could potentially cause you to eat more and gain more weight because of the impact it has on. We don't know the mechanism for this, but it starts to send the brain signals that sweet food is coming. So it starts to get the gastric juices ready. So that could be a mechanism in the way that it encourages you to eat. Um, because it's like, hey, we're expecting something. There is no payoff. Where is it? Where have you put it? Right? There's thoughts that with the brain circuitry that relates to food rewards. When we taste something sweet, the brain expects those calories, and when it don't comes in, you don't feel satisfied, so it drives you to eat more. I think that's probably the mechanism. We're not entirely sure. But we don't want to consistently promote those sugar cravings, even if they are fake sugar cravings. And we don't want to promote that dependence on sweet things, right? So think about that. I think also the artificial sweeteners as well, so a point to note is the change in gut microbiome. Bacteria and the fungi that are in our intestines that are helping us digest food and all the other fancy things good for us. It leads to a decreased feeling of fullness after eating and alters blood sugar in ways that potentially can make people eat more and gain weight. So drink water with your meals, and try and get that throughout the day. The last keystone habit I'd say is mindful eating. I talked about this earlier. I'm on my phone. I'm watching something when I'm eating. There's no self-awareness there. It's not fog eating. It's not storm eating that I've talked about before. There's no mindfulness eating. And and the problem we have is when we are mindful, it's purposeful. We talk a lot of, we'll talk more about mindfulness in the future, but I want you to remember three things. I want you to eat with intention rather than out of habit. Think about what you really want. Think about if you really want that food before you decide to eat it. You may still decide to eat it, but you will be eating it on purpose, and that makes a lot of difference. Number two is we eat with attention. Rather than while you're doing something else, pay attention to the experience of eating, the sensory experience of your food, chew slowly, what textures you're having, savor the foods, enjoy it. And notice if you don't like the food as well. This is not particularly nice. I've made it, so I'll eat it. But you're going to be eating mindfully and potentially less by doing so. And number three, practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the easier it gets. until finally mindful eating becomes your very own healthy habit. And people say, "Oh, is it even possible?" Everything, in terms of body transformation, weight loss and stuff, it starts with mindfulness. It evolves into honoring this one body that you have to carry you through life. You can learn to trust that what your body communicates to you is true and meaningful. You can. So set that sort of guiding star in the sky and know that yes, you can achieve mindful eating. You're already on the path. A lot of you already lost a lot of weight. And that's all I want to say about the habits. These are the habits that our best achieving clients achieve. Actually, that's to be honest, that's all of you on this. You've all achieved fantastic weight loss. So if you're not implementing some of those, and I'm confident you'll be all implementing at least one, please do so. It's something definitely to to implement into your day and into your journey. Don't have to do all of them, just do one. I'm gonna answer any questions for the next couple of minutes, and then I'll let you go, and I'll get some breakfast. If there are any questions, of course. We lost a couple of people on the way. I think we lost. Oh, Sharon's joined us. Hello. I didn't see you there. Who did we lose? Oh, we lost other Sharon, Sharon York. Is there any questions from you, Beverly, Carol, or Sharon? You're unmuted, Sharon. If you do have any questions, that is. But if not, I'll let you enjoy your weekends.
Oh,
I can see you. Did you all get the notification through the app? I was trying to put it everywhere through the app, through the Facebook group, and yeah, I was trying to put it
through
everywhere.
Facebook.
Yeah. Okay,
Mm.
cool. All right, cool. Well, that's it then. No questions, I guess. Seven Keystone habits. If there's any other questions, come up with a spin off the back of this. Let us know in the Facebook group. We're here for you. Have an amazing weekend and make sure you get on to do Viola's workout. I think Beverly commented that, and I think Michelle also wanted to do that. So, any questions? Let us know, and I appreciate you tuning in on this Saturday. Go and enjoy it with friends and family. All right, I'll see you all.